Hi everybody, I'm Kienda from the Broken Meeple. If you like what you see, please remember you can thumb up the video, you can subscribe to the channel or the Patreon, or most of all, just get some comments down below, beef up the engagement, and let me know what you think of this video, and of course the little furballs that I'm about to talk about in a second. We'll get on with it in just a moment, but first, quick word from the sponsor. As a fellow gamer, you'll understand this is unacceptable. The solution? Head down to my new sponsor, Kienda.co.uk. Kienda stocks many of the hot new releases as well as some old hidden gems. Free delivery on orders over £30, further discounts on bulk purchases, and even 5% of your spending refunded back to you as points to be used for further discounts down the line. If you use the referral link in the description below and sign up for a new account, you'll get 5% discount on your first order over £60. So let's make gaps in your collection a thing of the past. Get down to Kienda and start saving today. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of the video.
Get on with it.
Very quickly first, I just want to give a little shout out to a friend of mine called debra.wallace. Debra.wallace works at the Dice Portsmouth Cafe that I attend every now and again. But on the side, Deborah is very gifted at doing various little crafting projects at some of the cons that we've been to in the local area. Deborah basically brings some of her wares along, and it's anything from like, you know, Star Wars to Harry Potter to all sorts of like little fantastical creatures. I think even some of the Marvel Universe bits and bobs. But she creates a few little nice little like products and that, and I just wanted to give a little quick shout out. So you will have noticed that I have some mascots in my videos every now and again. I've used the Zatu.co.uk orange, you know, for Troubles monster every now and again. But you will have also noticed this tiny little Yoda occasionally in my top 10 videos. This is one of Deborah's creations. Nice little, cute little Yoda. It's got its own little jacket and everything. Whether it's Yoda or you can have it as a Groot from Mandalorian. I don't know, your choice really. But as of yesterday, I'm now the proud owner of Fizzgeek. I've got my own Fizzgeek.
You don't love me!
If you don't know what a Fizzgeek is, you need to do some revision and go watch a movie called Dark Crystal, because it's an underrated classic movie. Product of its time, but still a classic. But now I've got my own Fizzgeek, which again, Deborah has made. So this took her over 26 hours odd to make. That is a ridiculous amount of time and effort, but yeah. Love it to bits. Love it to bits. So you're going to see these mascots appear in my videos just to kind of make it a bit more interesting to look at. But if you're interested to know more about some of this stuff and perhaps, you know, purchase a few of her wares for you, it's kind of like a little side business she has, then look in the description below, find her email address, drop her a line, and she'll be able to help you out further. So now on to the review. I've got a bunch of little two-player games that I want to talk about for the coming future, because as you will be aware, I'm trying to do some top 10 lists on light, medium, and heavy two-player games, and I figured that I needed to actually catch up on a few two-player games because I don't get a lot of games to the table with two players often, so I figured it was time to check out a few. So Kienda have been very nice in sponsoring me with a few copies of some various two-player games, and I wanted to give my thoughts. First up, we got Great Plains. Great Plains from Lookout Games for 2 players only. This is a very tight area control game with very few rules at all. I mean, it's basically just a case that one person plays the snakes, one person plays the foxes. You have a map of hex tiles that are set up randomly at the start of the game, and essentially what you are doing is you are placing caves on the map to sort of certify your starting position, but then at that point you're trying to control grassland areas on the map, the yellow regions, and majority at the end of the game will score points. What you essentially do on your turn is you place one of your little animals out, but it's got to go next to something you've already placed, whether it's a cave or another one of your animals. And so the idea of this is that you're constantly putting these animals on kind of in a tug of war effort with the opponent, because you're limited on where you can go, but you have little animal tokens that you can pick up, an eagle, a bear, and a horse, which allow you to circumnavigate the rules a bit. Like I can jump 2 spaces, I can jump over a mountain, or I can kick one of your guys out. Do not underestimate this bear, he's a pain.
This is none other!
And essentially you just carry on until all your pieces are out, and then you look at who owns the majority in every single lowlands area. 1 point for each hex, plus 1 for a spring if it's nearby. It's like a water feature on the map. And that's literally the game. I've pretty much explained it to you in like, what, a minute or so? It's dirt simple, this game. It's got a rule book which is so flimsy I feel like I would rip it in half just by handling it bad. Because that's it. Whoop, get back up there. Fizzgeek, would you mind holding that for a second? There you go, Fizzgeek. Right, so we got a tiny little rulebook here. This is it. Nothing. You have 1 page for setup, 1 page for how to play, 1 page for the end of the game, and the front is components. That is it. This is one of the easiest two-player games I think I have had to learn in the last decade. It's insane how simple this game is, and to be honest, given that I've had to learn a few complex games lately, I'm kind of glad to have something a little bit easier to get to the table. But this means that this game is perfect gateway level, because anybody could play this game. There is nothing in the rules here that I would consider complicated. You know, these free animal tokens, easy. They basically allow you to move a couple of spaces further or kick someone out of a space. No big deal. The placement is simple. It's got to go next to one of your pieces already, or it's got to go on, it's got to go next to a cave. And you can't go on mountains, and if you get kicked off the map, you die. That's literally it. It's easily one of the simplest two-player games I've ever come across, and yet doesn't feel like an on-rails two-player game. Like, oh yeah, I've just got to do this, oh well, luck of the draw, whatever. No, there's no luck in this game. It's purely what your decision is. There's no draw a card and get a power. There's no, if I put this piece there, there's a die roll to see if I kick you off the spot. No, everything is down to the players. It's pure skill. The more skillful player will win this game more often than not. And for a game that is literally gateway level, that is pretty impressive, I've got to say. You might think, well, okay, I've just got to put an animal on. How tight can this get? It's very deceptive. Halfway through this game, you sort of feel like, all right, it's not too bad. I'll just put a couple of snakes there, put a snake there, fox there, and we're doing okay. But then eventually when you start really vying for those last couple of hexes on the lowlands area, suddenly it becomes a lot more vicious. Because somebody with a bear, kicking you out of a hex can be quite damaging, because it is straight up, majority gets the points, shared doesn't get points. There's no ties, so it's your win or their win, either way. And you have to employ some, these are your tactics here, because you need to decide, all right, well, what's important? Do I go there? If I go this route, shall I pick up the animal token? Well, what can I do with the eagle? Well, if I jump over this spot, I can go into this area that I couldn't before, and, start messing around with their plans this way. But, wait a minute, he's got a bear token. He could kick me out of that area if I'm not careful. So should I set up a defense, maybe surround that piece? There's a lot of little tiny decisions that you've got to make in this game that aren't brain-burny. And most people are going to play this fairly casually. So it's not like you're going to sit there and, really mathematically brain it all out. It's not going to happen. But it's definitely one that, at first, when you look at this, you think, well, this is going to be, absolute nothing. This is just going to be a kid's game. It's surprisingly, this is a little bit more intellectually required than you might think. But the other thing is that the placement of your starting caves is also relevant, because you only get 3 of them, and there's 7 spaces that they can go, which means one of them's going to get left out, but you take it in turns to place them on. So even the initial setup requires a little bit of tactical decision making, because you could put all 3 of your caves in one area, probably not recommended. Chances are you'll want to space them out, but then where exactly do you space them out? I mean, okay, I'll put my 3 here, for example. Well, I'm good in this area, I'm good in the middle, and I'm good over here. I got nothing in this area. So how am I going to get my pieces from there to there, or do I just sacrifice them and say, you know what, they're yours? There's just clever little details like that. Now, where this game falters a little bit is, well, actually, falters a little bit is an understatement. No, falters quite a lot. This is the big negative of this game. There isn't a lot of replay value here. The only thing that changes from game to game is this setup map. You don't put it in weird formations. You basically just have it set up like this, a surrounding hex. And the only thing that's different is that they're double-sided tiles and there's no rule for connection. So I literally could flip all these tiles over pretty much, and it will create an entirely new map with different setups and different different sizes of the lowlands areas. So yeah, that changes up the game a little bit, but that's it. You have these free animal tokens, you have the same pieces, there's no special powers, it's kept super simple, which, like I say, it's what it's meant to do. But this isn't a game that I feel like you're going to play over and over and over again. I feel that you will play it once, maybe twice in succession, because it is we're talking, a 20-minute game here. I mean, unless somebody is really trying to think it out, you should be done and dusted with this in 15-20 minutes. But you probably aren't necessarily going to want to play it too many times, because then you'll think, all right, I'm kind of done with it. I'll put it away and I'll get it out another time. The components are pretty decent, actually, for a lookout, two-player game. I mean, you get a whole bag full of these snakes and foxes, which I got to admit, the snakes are quite easy to tell apart. The foxes are a little bit more tricky to realise it's a fox. Although the interesting thing is that my mate sort of realised that if you stand them up, that's how they're meant to be, and it's essentially the fox from the cover, like that. but then if you put it down on its front, it kind of almost looks like that's the head, and that's the feet, and it almost looks like a sort of dog or fox, like on its four legs. It's kind of weird. It's very deceptive. It works either way, but like I said, that's not a gripe. That's just a sort of observation I made. But yeah, you got a bunch of little wooden shaped pieces. You've got a very clear map. It's not, you know, difficult to tell what everything is. The graphic design is perfect. You know, there's no confusion of whether that hex is a grass, that's a mountain, that's a cave or anything. It's super clear, super simple. There's not a lot else I can really say about the game. It's a solid game, just not one that I think will stand the test of time, or like, you know, over the long period, or will warrant too many plays in quick succession. But I feel that if it's in your collection, it's going to be a great one to just pull out every now and again with your significant other, or better yet, I'm going to hang on to this one because I think it's a perfect gateway game. You know, there are some easy two-player games that we've always loved, like Lost Cities, for example, and everyone talks about Patchwork and that, but I would argue those two have got more rules than this does. Great Flames for me gets a solid 7 out of 10. As I say, it's not one that I want to play over and over again, but the merits of this game are certainly worth talking about. If anything hurts this game a lot, it's the lack of any distinguishing replay value. Because yes, the map layout can change, but it's not like it really changes the game that much. You're playing the same game pretty much every time. It's just that tiny bit less the same thing as it was normally. So, as I say, it could have used maybe a little bit more variety in places. I'm not sure how it would do it, but everything else, it ticks the boxes and gets it right. So that's it for me on this review. If you like what you see, then please remember to thumb up the video, consider subscribing to the channel, or even the Patreon if you want to lend a hand with review copies. But mostly, get your thoughts in the comments. What do you think of Great Plains? Is it a great one in your collection? Are you now interested in it? Do you want to check it out some more? Do you think it's actually got a lot of staying power? And of course, what do you think about Fizzkeeg in Debra's Little Works? Anyway, that's it from me. Take care, and remember as always, it's only a game. Bye for now.